All right, welcome to episode 89 of the At Bat podcast presented by War Media, where we give you our thoughts on the latest Chicago baseball news as well as take a trip around the league. I am Saul Rodriguez, joined as always by my co-host Miles Porter. We'll also be joined by Mike Hughes later on in the show. He is a part of the Give Us a Shot podcast network. I know he told us he's busy right now with the Angel Reese press conference, which is pretty badass. So whenever Mike joins us, we'll get to talking Cubs baseball and more. So, Miles, how you doing, man? How's everything? I know it's been a couple weeks since we recorded. A lot of things have happened in Chicago baseball. I mean, the Cubs are 14-9. The White Sox, you know, are they got three
I love how you
wins.
did not say the Sox record. Just okay.
They have we won't say if you want to know the White Sox record MLB.com.
Yeah, just look it up. Just look it up. This is we don't bully on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh yeah, I'm only laughing because
Oh,
it is literally unbelievable. But we'll get into the White Sox and all that in a little bit. But how are you doing, man? How's everything?
doing good, man. Doing good. We start our season next week, which I'm excited about. I move into my new apartment this coming Friday, so I'm getting everything all squared away, and also keeping up with work and preparing for the season. So it's very crazy right now, but all good things. All good things.
Hell yeah, good to hear, man. And yeah, and you know what, we'll start with the good stuff. As you know, with the Cubs and the way that they're playing. And we'll try to get to everything today. And if we get to around the league, we'll talk Jackson Holliday, a little AL East, and a little
Yep.
Mike Trout, because I mean I say a little Mike Trout, but it's a big season he's putting together, and we're just in April, which is not a surprise, but
Them too.
we'll yeah. um, but the Cubs are 14-9, which here on April 24th, with all the injuries and the bullpen troubles, it's you could argue it's kind of surprising. You could make plenty of arguments as to why the Cubs should have 20 wins and as to why the Cubs should have 10 wins. So, how do you feel since the last time we talked? I mean, since the last time we talked, I know, or the last episode we discussed Christopher Morel's defense because it wasn't great at the time. Now it is much improving. Seiya Suzuki was red hot when we talked the last time. Unfortunately, he's missing a month. Justin Steele, excuse me, was placed on the IL. He's close to coming back. So, how do you feel about where the Cubs are at this moment in time? Because you know, plenty of positives. I know we'll get to the negatives in the bullpen and all that with Alzolay
Yeah.
and all that. But how do you
Yeah.
feel about where the Cubs are at, despite all the things that they've had to deal with?
It's impressive, bro. It is really impressive. We're seeing the team really grind out at bats. For the most part, I feel that we've had, the starting pitching has been as good as it can be. I know there's, like you said, questions in terms of the bullpen, but I'm very proud of just how they have come together so great. Um, I'm very impressed by these at bats, bro. It's really not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
chasing. The defense has been very solid. I know we had some defensive troubles on Sunday and a little bit yesterday as well. But it's been cool seeing this team come together. We've always been pretty sound defensively, and we're not exactly a team that's gonna knock the ball over the wall. So it's been great to see us, work counts, get the pitchers count up, and kind of go base to base, and then some like Belly or Bush is going to drive these guys in or whoever. So it's just been cool. It's been cool. We've been a very good all around team. You look at us on paper, it's not a bunch of guys that are going to blow you away,
Mm-hmm.
but the guys who are going to give you a quality game each day in day out. So I'm very happy, and I'm hoping to see a couple of additions. I really am. I think we are just one or two moves away from being that team. So very optimistic.
Yeah, you're right, dude. I mean, like, I can't imagine like the trade deadline or even even in the next couple months, depending on where other teams land. How crazy it's gonna be and who the Cubs are gonna add. Because I know, like, and it's one of those things where it's like with teams that are on the come up and like looking to be playoff teams and kind of expect to be playoff teams. I feel like sometimes the last thing to be put together is the bullpen, and that's the one thing that we've had to deal with. Besides injuries. that we've had to deal with this month that has been just like, you gotta, you're pulling your hair out of your head. It's just like, man, like some of these performances from the bullpen. I mean, Jose Cuas earlier in the season we talked about, he obviously was sent to AAA. And but even then it wasn't the only issue the Cubs had in the bullpen. Obviously, we've seen
Right.
what has happened with Alzolay and all that.
Yeah.
Um, but in that case, from the bullpen standpoint, like, do you think there's the solutions to what obviously we think there's going to be additions in the future, like, in July or whatever it is, but is there any solutions that you think are there now? Because a lot of people think, hey, why don't they try Ben Brown at closer, or Mark Leiter Jr. at closer, or
Yeah.
Hector Neris at closer? But I feel like, and I've heard good counterpoints to each one. I mean, Mark Leiter, don't you shouldn't take him out of his spot. He's a crucial, important part of that,
Yeah.
the bullpen. When he comes in the seventh inning, eighth inning, whatever it is. And then Hector Neris, he gives up a lot of contact. His stuff hasn't been there just quite yet this season.
Yeah.
And then Ben Brown, he's young, so it's a lot of different things go into how simple some people think it is to put a guy in the ninth inning.
Yeah.
But what do you think about what can be done at this moment with the guys the Cubs do have?
I wouldn't mind seeing Ben Brown and Adbert
Mm-hmm.
Alzolay shuffle roles a little bit. Now, when you look at Ben Brown, he's able to go. He's clearly able to go at least 4 innings, and he's young. So I don't think I don't think there's any harm in terms of kind of shuffling those dudes specifically that come to my mind when it comes to the bullpen. Other than that, I don't really want to move too many guys around. I could see Hector Neris in the closing position, but I think he's had a little bit of issues in terms of just giving
Mm-hmm.
up some hard contact. So I don't know how different it would be if we did put Hector Neris in the closer spot and that Advert. So I am very enticed by the Ben Brown kind of flop with Advert Alzolay, but also I'm also getting a feeling that maybe Ben Brown is also capable of being a starter down the line. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would love to see them do something when it comes to it, especially when we have some guys who may not be able to go as deep. I'm referencing Kyle Hendricks right now, who we all love, and we adore everything that he's done for the North Siders. But it has been a rough start for him, and so I just think about if we have a starter that's going to come out a little bit early, it's very important that we have someone like Ben Brown, um, who's able to eat up some innings and give kind of like the later relievers some rest before they come in to shut the door, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no, yeah, and good segue, because I mean we're gonna talk about Kyle Hendricks, and I think yeah, there's been a lot of conversations, and I know it's definitely easy to get frustrated with a guy like that, but as you say, he's a literal Cubs legend in every way. But it's kind of, there's been a lot of talk of people are like, should they DFA him? Should they let him work this stuff out? I know there's a lot of money on there. I know that with how much they paid him, I think it was 16 mil this year, but so I don't know if the
Yeah,
DFA is an option. But there's just a lot of talk about what the Cubs should do, and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's like, how long do you go? But I mean, ultimately, there was a decision made at least this week when putting him on the IL, and whether you think it's phantom IL or not, he's there.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, you you mentioned what you thought about uh his start to the season and all that, but what do you think? What have you seen from him? Because it's one of those things where, like, I feel like you know the way some of his sinkers have hung in the zone a little too long and has been crushed. I mean, you saw that home run by um uh I'm blanking on his name, from the Marlins, who hit that 460-foot shot the other day.
I have not
Um
seen someone. I was at that game. I have not seen him. Last time I saw that was like Barry Bonds back in like 2007 during batting practice. Put a ball up there. That was an absolute moon ball that was hit.
Oh my dude. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, Brian De La Cruz hit that. Yeah. So
Brandon Cruz. Yeah,
yeah, he's got major pop, and that's the one of the only guys in that Marlins lineup that you cannot hang a pitch like that and
Yeah.
he deposited that out. But
Oh
and
God.
he hurt us a couple times. He hurt us as we were talking about the bullpen. He hurt us against Alzolay with that go ahead 2-run shot on Friday or on Saturday, excuse me. So yeah, it's there's ongoing issues, but yeah, with Kyle Hendricks, what do you think it is with him? What's a particular issue? Is because a lot of the stuff isn't drastically different. I think it's more of just some of his pitches and not being able to execute well. And I mean, we've seen some of his press conferences after the game. I mean, he's wearing it. I mean, he knows he's got to get better. He knows he's laying down the team with his performances. But
Yeah.
this is a guy that is also a guy that has started season slow before and has regained it.
Yeah.
But like as people
Yeah.
said, in a year where the Cubs expect to be in the playoffs, like how long do you let this go on for? And also we have plenty of rotation options at this point. When it comes to whether it be Wisniewski, whether it be
Yeah.
Smiley, or whether it be all these other guys. So I think definitely the Cubs have some wiggle room. I think that's why they put him in the IL. But what have you thought about the Hendrick situation and where do you think it'll go?
What I've always noticed with Kyle is that this is a guy who does not have a lot of velocity, which is okay. In a time where there's a lot of velocity, he has his same arsenal, but if you are throwing some of these pitches, some of his breaking stuff, and it doesn't break, it is a batting practice fastball. Um, so we're seeing him hit his zones. We're seeing him locate well. It's just a fact of his if his stuff is not moving properly, he's doomed. It's just the way it is right now, and I am more than certain that he is constantly working at it, probably going back and seeing what made him successful earlier. But yeah, these are it's crucial for his pitches to move correctly. They're not moving correctly. Um, it's like I said, it's literally doomsday, and that's the best way I could put it. Location is fine. His command, I'm really not mad at all. But we got to figure out how to, get some of these sweeping pitches to actually sweep and not just hang up there like a beach ball to get hit above the batter's eye in center field.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing too. Just looking at his like Savant pages, like he's just getting barreled up, and I think like
Yeah,
in a lot of cases, a lot of years he doesn't. I know it's kind of been a little bit of it's been up and down last few years, but he has been injured. That has played a
yeah,
part.
yeah,
That might have been the issue to start this season. Who knows? But I think that's one of his biggest weaknesses is just this season at least is just getting barreled up and usually this in his throughout his career, especially in the height of his career in 2016, he wasn't getting barreled up. He had a 2.13 ERA and he was some
yeah,
of the had some of the best expected slugging. So that's
yeah,
it's something that hopefully he's able to work out. But I do hope the Cubs let him work it out, whether it be in the minor leagues or whatever it is. But I don't necessarily know if the best decision is to part with Cal Hendricks. Just because of you can never have too much pitching. I think that's one of the things that people don't realize is that like at the end of the day, I know that you may not want him to be starting right now. But you never know if there's injuries to the rotation. I'd rather
right,
have him than pick up a dude, that struggling from another team. Like you might as well
yeah,
try it with the Cubs. But um,
yeah,
on the other side of things with the bullpen too, and we mentioned it with Alzolay, with him, do you think it's one of those things where you believe he could still be the Cubs closer? Is he better
right,
suited as another part in the bullpen? Because looking at it, I think ultimately in a perfect Cubs bullpen, let's say they go out and get a Class A, for example, and I do know before I mentioned or before we talk about Class A, I do know the Guardians are 17-7, so I know they're not going to part ways with Class A as of right now. I do know that. But in a scenario, you never know.
yeah,
Baseball
yeah,
season's crazy. So in a scenario where they do, kind of go downwards in that AL Central, getting a Class A, Alzolay is a perfect setup man in my opinion. In a perfect bullpen, I think he is a setup man or a seventh inning guy.
absolutely.
But where do you see Alzolay, and what do you think about where his future lies? Do you think it still remains at closer? Or do you think he's more suited in a different spot in the bullpen?
I think he showed us last year that he is capable of being a solid closer for us. Now, we do want to win this year, and if we continue to see struggles, I wouldn't be mad if we do look into someone like Emmanuel Clase, despite the Guardians' record. We don't know where the Oakland A's are going to be. I think it'd be cool to see Mason Miller, who absolutely blew away the Yankees the other day, and it was very fun to watch. So I would let him go a little bit longer, and if we are continuing to see the same results, I think that's when we look into sort of making a change here. And people forget that Edward Alzolay was also a starter. He can be
Mm-hmm.
someone who, and maybe not. I don't know if his mentality is different, if his art, whatever the case may be, if the plan is different, stem or whatever. He's capable, to my knowledge, he's capable of going at least like 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
So me personally, I'm going to let him go a little bit longer. I know at this point in April, we are into it a little bit. We are, we're a little bit into the season now. But I wouldn't count him out just yet. I would like to see kind of what he does in the next 2, 3 weeks, and then sort of make a move from there because he proved to us last year that he is capable of being a solid closer.
Yeah, it's true, and I think his issue as well, from what I heard, is his slider, and it just hasn't been
Yeah.
hasn't had that sweep that it usually does, and that
Mm-hmm.
was his most effective pitch last year, and probably what made him the closer role to
Yeah.
so great at the closer role.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think definitely he'll get another shot at it before the deadline does come. I think the Cubs are gonna want some questions answered before they go out there and just start wheeling and dealing. Um, but now to the positive stuff, because there has been, I think, a lot more positives than there has been negatives. As sitting at 14-9, obviously. Michael Bush, man. I mean, what a find he's been for the Cubs, and at first, I was like, man, I don't know, was Jackson getting rid of Jackson Ferris, was that the right decision? And all that. Cubs fans were talking about that, throughout the offseason and all that. But Michael Bush has delivered, man. I mean, he has put together a solid start to the season. He got a 0.4 WAR to start the year already. In just a
Yeah.
few weeks into the season, 6 home runs,
Yeah.
31 total bases. Um, yeah, what have you thought about his start to the season and what it could mean for the Cubs? Because realistically speaking, Michael Bush excels. Matt Mervis does not, and you could probably see Matt Mervis, being sent out in a deal for a reliever
Yeah.
or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And Mervis, of course, was called up this week as a result of the Hendricks being placed in the IL, as long with Wisniewski was brought back up. So Mervis will get his opportunity. But what do you think about Michael Bush and how it affects this roster as he potentially becomes a big centerpiece of this team?
Yeah, it definitely switches things up. It kind of, I do like Matt Mervis getting another chance. Um, he had a he had a very he was called up last year, and we didn't see the results that he wanted from him, and haven't seen him in the big leagues ever since. And so it just kind of goes to show you how precious some of these opportunities are, because you never know who's behind you and who can potentially fill that role. So I, to kind of touch on both of them, when it comes to Michael Bush, I think this has been such a cool story. He is such a good dude. You could tell that he's really enjoying himself. He's enjoying playing at Wrigley, and he's enjoying, competing out there with his teammates. And he's just very comfortable. It's clearly he's comfortable. It's clearly he's bought into Craig Counsell, and Counsell is allowing him to go out there and stick with his approach. I think that is huge. So you're playing well at Wrigley in April. Just wait till May, June, July, August, September, when the weather's warm and it gets real fun over there. So I love that. It's very promising because right now we have our lefty first baseman. Um, when it comes to Matt Mervis, he's in a very tough position right now. He played so well. Just in terms of his minor league career, and then when he was sent back down, I think he still hit pretty well.
Hmm.
Like I said earlier, it's a tough business, and so what I'm hoping for Matt Mervis if the opportunity to have a starting role in the big league club isn't here. I like what you said. I think it'd be good to deal him and get another reliever for that bullpen. So it's kind of a win-win situation. Because I really feel for Matt Mervis. There's a lot of hype around him when he was called up, and unfortunately, it hasn't panned out so far. So I'd love to see a win-win situation where the Cubs get a solid reliever, and Matt Mervis possibly goes to a better situation for himself.
Yeah, no, and I think you know, yeah, he did have a hot streak last year when he went back to the minors, and then even
Yeah,
he started off this year pretty hot as well. So I think that's why
yeah,
we're like, man, we have no choice but to bring him up. And they parted ways with Garrett Cooper, who had a nice start
yeah.
to the season with us. But
Mm-hmm.
I understand some people's questioning that and being like, oh, it's a little odd that they would part ways, but I know I heard as well that Craig Counsell talked about one of the main reasons for them to add Matt Mervis back to the team was because they're facing a lot of righties here in the next couple of weeks. So like that's one of the reasons, and also with having Patrick Wisdom back, there's like a lot of similarities between him and Garrett Cooper. And you know what? It is what it is. Like Cooper, played well, but he's gonna. It's one of those things too, where with some big leaguers is that I'm sure Garrett Cooper would like to play every day. And I'm
Yeah,
sure that also played a part into it. I know that does in a lot of
yeah,
DFA cases because I think a lot of people see it one dimensional, be like, damn, they just got rid of this guy who was playing well or who's not playing, bad or anything. Um, but I think players also like, well, you know what? I'll take the DFA if it means I get to go somewhere else and start. So I know
yeah.
Garrett Cooper will get an opportunity to play every day somewhere just because we know
Mm-hmm.
he's capable of it. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
like going into the offense in the first couple weeks, last time we recorded an episode, Christopher Morel was going off, doing work, and he's cooled off a little bit offensively. I know he's still hitting the ball hard. He's not putting bad at bats. I mean, he walked twice in game one against the Astros. Um, but I do want to ask you about his defense and what have you thought about the improvement of his defense? Because we obviously have always known that he's got a cannon for an arm, and he's
yeah,
showcasing it now, like just more than ever. I know I heard the Astros telecast talking about his arm, and once he has that accuracy, which it looks like he's building on that accuracy, dude, it's gonna
yeah.
be nasty. I mean, he is out there. I mean,
Yep.
we even saw Michael Bush making some plays at first base. So it's like if you have above, if you have even like average defense at first base and third base, even maybe a little above average, then it's the best infield in the majors by far. So, what has been your
Yeah.
thoughts on Morel, and his bat as well as his improving defense? Because I think as a third baseman yourself, Miles, like we've talked about the things he can do to improve. What have you seen from Morel these last couple of weeks?
He is very comfortable and he is out there um, pacing himself with each throw. He has a rhythm every time that ball hits him, and it looks like you could just kind of see it in his demeanor that he is just way more comfortable over there. And I think a lot of that has to do with Craig Counsell, who's putting him over there and showing faith in it, which is huge. If your coach or your manager doesn't have faith in it, it kind of messes with you a little bit. So it's hard for you to believe in yourself sometimes. I'm just loving. I'm loving how he's starting to become a third baseman, and that's important. Uh, Makes it a little bit harder for Patrick Wisdom, but obviously the lineup gets switched around. P Wizzy can DH, whatever the case may be. But it has been a pleasure to see Morel slowly come into his own at third. Right now the defense is through the roof, and the bat's slowing down. Now wait until the bat catches up, and the defense is they're at the same level. It's in a year from now, he's an all star. He's an all star.
Yep.
There's nothing anyone can tell me. That's one of the strongest arms in the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
So very promising, very very promising, and kudos to Council for believing in him because Chris has gotten a lot of criticism. He's got a lot of flack over his defense. But you got to understand how young this dude is. Like you got to give him time to grow. And also shout out to Nick Magical, who was also great at third and a
Mm-hmm.
great backup to Christopher Morel. And so I just love it. I love what we got going on over there at third. And so hey, I'm hoping that he continues to build off of these great steps. We're still gonna have some hiccups. We're gonna have some hiccups.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be patient, man. Got to be patient with these young dudes. Baseball is a game of patience in many different ways.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. I couldn't say it better myself. And I think when it comes to that, I mean, I think a lot of people did kind of like go off on him too early. Like this dude is just starting off. And we mentioned that when we talked about it first. It's like this
Damn,
guy
man.
is barely starting to play third base. Like,
Yeah,
and you of all people know how hard that is. So it's like people like
it's freaking
gotta
tough over
chill.
there, man.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like people gotta chill out. Like this is his first time trying it, his first time doing it, and
Yeah,
for the most part, looking at it now where we're sitting at in late April, like he's done a good job. Like with his career and the fact that he hasn't played a lot of third base. I think he's doing a good job. So I think it's only going to
yeah,
get
I
better
agree.
from here. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's only going to get better from here, and I think that's going to be a pretty key part and important part to like this rest of the season, dude. And like
let
if he
him
can keep
cook.
it going, yeah, let Christopher Morel cook, dude. If he does
Let him cook.
at third base, it's over, dude. Like
Yeah,
this infield is going to be even more nasty. So,
yeah.
we'll see what happens. But we'll move on to the other side of this city now in the White Sox, and this is the part. It's a little
Mm,
tough, man. I mean, we talked about it before we came on, and it's like it just
yeah,
no baseball fan base
yeah,
deserves this. Like I've told my friends that are White Sox fans, and me and Miles are Cubs fans, but it's like there's no way
man.
that we have any enjoyment on the White Sox being 3-20 to start the season. I mean, there's so many negatives there, and it's like this seems. I know they were the first major league team in history to be shut out 8 times in the first 22 games of their
Yep.
season. Uh, they've scored one run or less in like 12 or 13 games. Um, it's been a debacle, and I'm running out of adjectives to describe this. But
Y'all got some good
there's
ones there, dude. You did some really good words you're using to describe this. This isn't a scenario where you can use small words. You got to use very sophisticated, detailed words. You're doing great. That's all I'm
I'm deep in my deep in my thesaurus for this one, Miles, because
saying. Yeah, yeah,
it's rough out here,
yeah,
for the city of Chicago and the South Side of
yeah.
Chicago. So yeah, I mean, like I said, we're starting franchise history, and we'll get into the bright spots of this, but from the negative side first. I mean, Miles, how do you feel about those starts of the White Sox season, and what do you think has been the biggest problem there?
It's funny. So I've been thinking about this question, and I don't know. I can't I don't know. It's the offense. It's the
Mm-hmm.
pitching. It's the management, the it's everything. Usually in a lot of these scenarios, I can kind of give you like a somewhat sophisticated answer. It's the batting averages. They're not driving. No, it's everything. And there are bright spots in Garrett Crochet, Michael Cole. Like there are bright spots. It's everything. It's everything with the Sox right now. They cannot stay healthy. I don't know. It's it is one of those things where it's like maybe if we turn it off and turn it on again, it'll start working. That's how I feel about the White Sox when I see them at guaranteed rate. That's 3-9, 3-20 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3-20. Okay, that's it. I don't know what else to say. I'm blown away. I feel so bad for Sox fans, bro. I don't even know how to even break this down as I'm looking at the batting averages. I don't know. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
man. I don't know.
Yeah,
Colson
I mean,
Montgomery will not save the day. That's been more than you have to help him, help this kid, put stuff around him and the other prospects coming up. Oh man, this is trifling. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I mean, dude, you're right, and I was like,
It's poor
it's
Sox fans, bro.
I know, yeah, it, and the thing is going into the season, we're talking about like which team we think is going to be the worst team in baseball, which team that. Like I kept saying, I still think it's going to be Oakland. Like it's one of the worst rosters I've ever seen put together. And
Right.
granted, the White Sox, went into the season with an MVP candidate, in Luis Robert Jr. Unfortunately, he's been injured,
Yeah.
injuries all over the place. So that plays into it, of course. Obviously, on paper, the White Sox roster looks better than the A's. But man, the White Sox have just been, above and beyond the worst team in baseball in every facet. And yeah, you mentioned it with the offense. It's rough. Like they're
It's
last in
above
like
and beyond those. Yeah.
major. Yeah, I mean
That got me just now.
I know, dude. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
it's
tough.
it's insane. Like laughably insane. And like looking at their like last in a lot of the categories in offense and like uh even the pitching, as bad as it has been, has not been as bad as the offense has been. But
Right.
um, the bright spots there. I mean, Crochet has looked great, even though
Yes.
he's had a couple rough starts. But that was going to come with a
Yep.
guy who's making who's putting together his first trying to put together his first full season as a starter. Um,
Yeah.
but the stuff's still there. I mean, he goes out there and K's a bunch. He's had a couple rough starts against some really good offenses. I mean, you
Yep.
look at the Reds, the Phillies; those are good offenses. So I wouldn't be discouraged if I was a Sox fan looking at Garrett Crochet. Kopech has looked good in the bullpen. I know he gave up a home run in the because they had a good opportunity to win their fourth game last night against the Twins. They were
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
I believe they were up 5-2 at one point, and then the
Looking at some
Twins
of these numbers
stormed
right now.
yeah, the Twins stormed back and scored 4 in the last 2 innings, and come back. So that's just how the season's going. But yeah, I mean, uh, when naming other bright spots, I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say. Like Eric Fetty has
Yeah.
looked well, coming
Yeah.
back from Korea. Um,
Yeah.
and of course Gavin Sheets has looked pretty great too at the plate.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to the positives there, I mean, what can you make of a guy like Crochet, a guy like Fetty, a guy like Gavin Sheets, who it, it's rough when you gotta it's hard to look for a bright spot in this season for the White Sox. But as you mentioned, Colson Montgomery's not going to save the day. It's going to take a lot more than that. And I will say
Yeah.
their minor league system right now looks pretty good. Like when it comes to Drew Thorpe, he's pitching well.
Yes. Yeah.
When it comes to Jairo Iriarte, the guy that this is the guys that they got in return of Dylan Cease.
Yeah.
So it's that's looking good. But for the major league side, I mean, there's not a lot of bright spots. But what have you thought on guys like Gavin Sheets and Crochet and all that?
Eh, yeah. I mean, it's good. It's. I feel so bad because it's just like for when you look at their numbers at face value, it's like, oh, okay. But then when you look at the White Sox as a whole, you're like, wow, you guys are doing great. They are doing great. Um, and I think, yeah, I think it is important to kind of hold on to the players that are really producing to the best of their ability. I think Crochet has been such a bright spot for this team, and like you said, he has gotten roughed up, but he's still maturing. His stuff is so electric.
Hmm.
In one of the few wins that they had this year, I was there when they beat the Braves at home, which was a great game. Um, so it's those little things, and I wonder, when it comes to Gavin Sheets, I'm very curious as to how long we're gonna kind of ride this out. Um, anything for this ball club. Goodness gracious. So yeah, overall, I think that like you said, that when it comes to their farm system looking healthy, that's something to hold on to. It's very positive. And yeah, Michael Kopech, yeah, he's got hit a little bit hard. I think his stuff has been really nice. To stay healthy, that's the best thing I can say about these guys. As long as they're healthy, I think it is good for not just the Sox fans, but like the teammates themselves, knowing that the guys who are producing as well as they can are healthy, and so any sort of fighting chance, I think is a good positive for the White Sox right
Yeah, I think that's you gotta look for the diamond in the rust and that like I said, they some guys have been putting together solid seasons to start the year, but they gotta fight
now.
through
Yeah,
it until some of these guys return. I know Yohan Moncada is trying to
yeah,
return faster than a lot of people expected. Eloy Jimenez came
yeah,
back, he had a home run yesterday.
yeah,
So hopefully for the Sox fans' sake, for the city of Chicago, they're able to come back and put together a solid season when it comes down to it. Because you know what, plenty of season left, so we could
yeah,
they're 3-20 now, but you never know. They put together 60 wins. At this point, it seems that would be like a success at this point. So we'll see what happens. But um, all
hang in
right,
there, Sox fans. I yeah, I remember always getting into arguments with my friends like 5 years ago. Some friendships ruined by like the Cubs and the White Sox and who's better. And I'm beyond the point of digging at Sox fans at 27 years old
Yeah.
because ball players are ball players, man.
Yep.
I'm a baseball fan first, and like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a diehard Chicago first. So
Yep.
this ain't pretty for the Sox. This isn't pretty for Chicago. It's not. This is a lot. This organization has a lot going on at the
Mm-hmm.
moment. The rumors of them changing locations. The Sox fans hang in there.
Yep. Yeah, and it's the thing, like we've said it on the show before. Like the city of Chicago is better when both baseball teams are good.
Absolutely.
That's just a fact.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um it's rough, but hopefully they're able, to play better and to, continue to ride some of these guys like Crochet and guys like Eric Fetty. And hopefully, some
Yeah.
things, positive things
Yeah.
come out of it.
These dudes are going
Um
out. They're playing their butts off right now. They're
mhm,
trying. The players are trying.
yeah.
No one's going out there and just thinking to themselves, "Oh, well, we suck." No, when you're watching the games, these dudes they're trying their best. I just don't
Mhm,
think they have a lot of confidence, and they don't believe in themselves as much.
yep.
Understandably, but just hang in there, boys.
All right, but let's go around the league now, and we'll start with the Orioles. We'll start with Jackson Holliday, and when we're talking about rough starts to the season, we're talking about rough starts as well to a career. And Jackson Holliday, this dude's was the number one prospect in baseball, is the number one prospect in baseball, and he has started his career 2 for 34. Oh, I mean
Yeah,
it's not looked great, but at the same time, this is a guy who's you know dealing with major league pitching now. And we all know from seeing countless times. I mean, Chris Bryant definitely didn't come up and start raking right away. The same with Anthony Rizzo as well. Like it's not easy. But what have you thought of the Orioles? And I mean, because they're still winning. They're not. This is not affected their winning ways. I mean, they're 15-8. So what have you thought about them, and as well as just how Jackson Holliday has come up and what do you think? What do you think this will lead to? Is this part of the process for him? And do you think it's only up from here?
I think it's only up from here, man. And as you're asking, I'm also pulling up some of their numbers because I think that they've actually had a pretty solid season at this point. I think
Yeah.
they have 15
Hmm.
wins and 8 losses to this point. Yeah, he was definitely kind of like not human that in the minor leagues, and then he came up and it got very very real. Um, he's so young, and I saw this stat the other day, and I cannot remember the specific stats, but it showed a list of players who had like only 2 hits, 1 or 0 hits in like the beginning of their careers, and I think Ken Griffey Jr. was amongst one of them, like 30 at bats or 25. So, and I think it is just I love, um, I love that they are putting him out there to learn to kind of go through everything. Um, I would not be worried at all. This is a very good ball club. They are very confident. They are extremely young. For some reason, why does every prospect look the same? I don't know. It's just weird. I saw that joke online somewhere. Like, it's like the blonde hair, blue eyes. It's like what is up with that? That's this is funny. So this is one hell of a ball club. They're gonna be just fine. I love that they're just giving Jackson Holliday room to just grow every single day. If I'm not mistaken, they called up Heston Kjerstad as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another guy that
Cool.
looks the
Cool.
same,
Cool.
like everyone else.
Bro, I don't know what is up with that. It looks like I'm
The
not playing for the
factory.
Orioles. My black guys. Kidding. Kidding.
Both of us, Miles. We're not getting called up to the Orioles. We're
Yeah,
not.
gosh darn it. I wanted to meet Matt Holiday. Yeah,
Oh man. No, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, we've baseball has seen this before. When it comes to guys struggling up, guys that are bona fide stars that have come up and struggled. And I by no means think that it'll last because I think he's just too good of a player and too good of a talent. And
yeah,
it is in a lot of the I've seen some tweets as well, people talking about how they're giving him a lot of breaking balls and a lot of the things he's trying to pull, and so
yeah,
it's time for him to adjust. And I think that's one of those things that he probably hasn't had to adjust a whole lot. He just had success in every,
Yeah.
level. And you know what? That's fine too, because a lot of players, do well when they have to, kind of develop a little more in the majors. So
Yes.
well, I'm sure that he'll be fine and all that. But
Yeah,
I
he's a
mean,
baby, bro. Oh my
exactly,
gosh.
exactly. That's
This
why
kid
I'm not
is,
not worried at all.
yeah, dude. It's a 2003 baby. This dude's still fresh.
Yeah, that's crazy when you to think about, dude. Like, we saw his dad play. Now we're seeing him play. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting there now. But in the AL East, I mean, every team there except for the Rays is over 500. So that division's is always tough. It's always a gauntlet. Yankees sit at the top of it. But shifting our focus now, the final thing I want to talk to you about is a guy that maybe a lot of people haven't heard about in Anaheim. And it's a guy, this little known guy named Mike Trout, who's having a monster season to begin 2024.
Yeah.
He's got 9 home runs, 12 RBI. He's basically just knocked himself in with the Angels, because I mean there's nobody that's getting on base there. Um,
Yeah.
but everyone counted him out, man. I mean, this is a guy that, like, I love to see it, because you know we've never fallen off the Mike Trout train. Like, this guy is
Nope.
awesome, and like, even he's sitting there at 32 years old,
Yeah.
still mashing, and he's showing that he still has a lot left in the tank, despite all
Yeah.
the injuries and despite all that, that talk about, is he going to stay in Anaheim for the rest of his career? Is he going to go somewhere? Which I think eventually he'll get traded somewhere.
Right.
But to what he said, he wants to stay in Anaheim. But what have you thought about Mike Trout's start to the season? Because it really is almost like a revenge season for Mike Trout, because, like I said, people counted him out before the season. He was, I think, ranked like 7th in the top 10 list for MLB Network, which I think is like the lowest I've seen him in a long time. Maybe since,
Yeah.
like, maybe the lowest ever. So it's kind of cool to see him kind of say, you know what, I'm going out there and still trying to be the best player in the game. And he's
Yeah.
putting together a great start to the season. What have you thought about him so far?
Man, I loved it, bro. He's had such a like an immaculate career to this point. He's still 30. He's 32. He's,
Hmm.
1,600 hits. So that's what his career, almost 400 bombs. And so to me, he is like he's like the prototype of what every coach wants a ball player. It's been very cool to see him kind of have a resurgence this year. I think I think the 237 batting average does him a little bit of an injustice, because he has 22 hits, 9 bombs, and 12 driven in, 5 stolen bases. So if I'm Ron Washington, well, I think also has probably played a little bit of a role in Mike Trout kind of feeling good again. I am so happy. I'm so happy, and so it's unfortunate this is a team that just cannot figure it out in terms of just getting over the hump. So I'm happy. I'm happy, man. A healthy Mike Trout, a performing Mike Trout is very, very good for baseball. Unfortunately, he is not talked about a lot in the general sports media, because he is more of like a to himself kind of guy. He's not a flashy dude. He doesn't have all kinds of. He just goes out there and he plays ball. Um, it's good. It's good for baseball that Mike Trout is playing well and that he's healthy. And I don't think they'll do it. Not because I don't have faith in the players. I don't have faith in this organization. I don't think they're going to be a winning team ever. But at least Mike Trout's healthy.
Yeah, yeah, it's as good as we can hope for, and I'm
That's as
right
good
with
as
you,
it
man. I
can
mean, I've always yeah, I've always wanted, Mike Trout to be in the playoffs. He's been in there once, and that was his rookie year, long time ago. So,
get.
hopefully, whether it's with the Angels or not, hopefully he's able to make it there sometime soon. It would definitely will
Yeah,
not be 2024 though. When it comes to guys that make baseball great just by being great. Otani's still doing his thing in LA. Mookie Betts still doing his thing in LA, and that team, despite that, they're putting together two monster seasons so far to start 2024.
yeah,
The Dodgers 14-11, so that's for their standards, that's a little surprising.
Yeah.
They started off, I think like 10-4. So,
Yeah.
we'll have to be, continue to follow that and to see where things go because they've had a little bit of an issue there, and that's something that we'll definitely
Padres
be
are
talking
staying
about.
on them a little bit. Padres aren't
Yeah,
really letting them
ex-
get too comfy. They're like, hold on.
exactly.
I
And
don't,
the
I
rest,
don't, I don't care what you guys got going on over there. We're not gonna make it easy. We don't care who you have on
right? Exactly. That's what I always thought. Like, despite me still thinking they'll win like 105 games in season, like they like that division not going to go down easily. The Padres, Diamondbacks, the Diamondbacks are
that team.
defending
Yeah,
NL champions. The
yeah,
Giants, they I know Blake Snell just went on the IL, but like they'll still be there. They'll put together a good season too. So it's like they're
yeah.
not going to have it easy whatsoever. And I think
Right. Yeah. I hope even the general fan understands this is one of the best assembled teams in the history of the sport.
yep.
But it's not going to be a cakewalk. We saw that when they came to Wrigley. They didn't
Hmm.
roll. The Cubs did not roll over at
Yep.
all. Matter of fact, the Cubs gave them some of the hardest times that they faced this year by a team
Hmm.
outside of the West.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where, and that's the great part about baseball is that no matter who you got on your team, you got to go out there and play and
Maybe the Sox sweep them. What kind of story would that be,
exactly.
bro?
You never know.
You know how
they
cool,
need
dude? Oh my gosh.
they need that. They need that,
Yeah,
and yeah, they're coming up soon on the schedule for the White Sox, so it's going to be
that'll
interesting to
break
see.
baseball.
Yeah, for real. That's it.
Timeline
Yeah,
to get all
so
jacked up.
so
Gosh
you
dang it,
never
who
know.
messed the script up? That wasn't.
They're double. Imagine they get into that series with 3 wins. They'll double their win total for the season. So you know what?
Oh my
Why not?
gosh.
It's baseball. Why not? Like, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
We've seen crazier stuff happen. So
yeah.
why not? But
Anything
all
can
right,
happen.
yeah. So that's a good place to wrap things up for this edition of the At Bat Podcast. Want to thank, as always, my co-host Miles Porter for joining me, as well as checking out other stuff for War Media. Check out the Bears Den. Got a lot of stuff coming up with the draft. With our guys in Sean Sierra and Joe Tanksley. We had Glenn Morgan early on this week as well. So check that out. I know we're gonna have Ken Davis from the NBC Sports Chicago Under Center podcast to recap the draft and all that. So check that out, as well as our collaboration with Sports Zone Chicago. Check out Sean and Maya, as well as Second City Sports with Lakina and Sydney. Check out all that stuff, as well as our boys on Slam Society talking about WrestleMania and UFC 300. So for Saul Rodriguez, Miles Porter, the At Bat Podcast. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.